I'm still getting through all the movies.
Okay.
There were a lot this year, and I fell behind because of basketball and football, but I've seen a lot of them now.
It was a really busy December. There was a ton of new movies in December.
Yeah, they really dumped a lot of them late. It felt like this weird award strategy or something, and it's been hard to get through all of them with all the other stuff. But I've been trying. I don't have a movie that I really absolutely loved this year, and I know you're talking about this on your pod constantly, but was there a movie in 2024 that you're just like, I'm fucking ride or die. I love this movie. I'll fight anybody who didn't like it. It doesn't feel like that movie exists this year.
No, I have not given 5 stars to any movie this year.
Are you like Dave Meltzer?
I'm
a 5-star match?
I'm honestly developing that. I'm trying my best. I think I've given out 8 5-star films in the last 9 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, there were not any this year. Now, my favorite movie is The Brutalist, which we can talk about. It is a divisive movie, and if people don't like it, I'm not going to pick a fight with you about it. I understand why people don't like aspects of that movie. But no, I think the thing that you're feeling is the same thing that it seems to be will be an issue for the Academy, because we've never really gone this far. It's, at least since I've been doing this, where the Best Picture race is as open as it is. I think people genuinely do not know what's going to win Best Picture, and it speaks to that lack of consensus that you're talking about.
Yeah, all these different films have pieces of things that feel like it's the movie of the year, but not the whole thing. We had some weird, what was that 3 Billboards year? We never really decided what the movie was that year. And then all of a sudden...
That was the Roma and Green Book year as well?
Yeah.
Or was it the previous year? Maybe that was the previous year. Maybe that was the previous year that was like Get Out and Lady Bird and
but those years, those were like ride or die movies. We were like Get Out. Like we had great arguments that year. I remember that 3 Billboards year. We just kind of, it's Black Klansman. There was a bunch of them where it was like, I liked it, but I wasn't all the way there. Like I felt that way about Nora. I thought the first hour of Nora, I was like just absolutely riveted. The second hour, it lost an air, but I was still really glad I saw it. I thought it was a really original, awesome, creative movie, but it was a little flawed too.
I think that's probably the front runner as much as there can be for Best Picture. It's a movie that I really like. I really like all of Sean Baker's movies. It isn't my favorite of his movies. I think it's got a great central performance, and that helps it a lot.
Yeah.
But it's a fairy tale about class, it's not going to be the most crowd pleasing movie, despite it having this like insane screwball energy that people seem to be responding to.
Well, it also, the second biggest part in the movie is somebody who's basically insane for 2 hours. He's Russian Borat.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. It was really, it's really memorable, and it has a couple of distinct memorable scenes, but if that won Best Picture, that would be kind of shocking. Conclave has the big twist in the end. Conclave has all the breadcrumbs of what a best film looks like. It's another one. It's bringing you into this world that's kind of cool. There's great actors that I like. And I got like 82% there for me. I'm doing percentages. It didn't get 100% for me.
I watched it a second time with my wife over the break, and I had the same feeling, which is the feeling that I had. I think it's very propulsive and entertaining. It's a great watch. I think the twist is a little silly and ham-handed. I had someone suggest to me, I was just talking about this with Amanda, someone suggest to me that if they had put the twist in the middle of the movie and only had the Ralph Fiennes character know the twist and no one else know, it might have changed the dynamic of the movie and maybe not made the twist feel as like rushed.
Yeah.
Which was cool. I don't usually like being like, your movie would have been better if you just done this, because I don't fucking know what I'm talking about. But that was a cool idea that I think maybe would have made me feel a little bit better about the movie, because it's, the craft is really good. It's edited beautifully. The great performances, like Ralph Fiennes is exceptional in the movie. You got Lithgow and Tucci and my guy Tedesco vaping. Like it's just, there's some great stuff in that movie, but it felt a little bit like kind of silly and a little bit like ta-da with the reveal at the end that made me not like it.
Didn't feel a little like ta-da. It felt a lot like ta-da.
Yeah.
It was like, how do we end this? Whoa. And then somebody got an idea over coffee one day, and all of a sudden that was the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was better than Chalamet. I thought Fiennes was really good. I thought what Chalamet did, Sierra and I did a little Ringer Movies YouTube thing about it. I know you talked about it too. I didn't love the movie. I really liked watching it. I don't know if I would watch it again. but I think I liked watching it for the actors and not the actual movie. I thought it was really conventional. But I really liked watching Chalamet. I liked all the main actors. I thought were excellent. I didn't know Chalamet had that in him. I was really proud of him. I felt like I felt a little. I don't know.
Our little baby's all grown up.
Yeah.
He did it. The world's #1 Bill Simmons fan is now the world's #1 young movie star. Yeah, I fully agree. I agree with everything that you said in your conversation with Chris. I feel the same way about the movie. I think the movie is, James Mangold doesn't make like bad, boring movies. His movies are always like rock solid, good watches. This is by far from his best movie, in my opinion. I think it is pretty conventional. There's not a lot of story. I think the movie makes a good choice by not trying to explain who and what Bob Dylan is. That he's more like this spirit that moved through this period of history, and Chalamet embodies that spirit really well. And obviously, his like singing and guitar playing it's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing.
My expectations were C+ is a win. And it was in the A range.
100%. I really think he could win. I really think people's heads have been turned. I think a lot of people had the kind of lowered expectations that you were talking about. I know I sure did. I was terrified to watch this movie as a psychotic Bob Dylan fan. I think they, for the most part, got the idea of Bob right. I wish the movie tried to explore a little bit more of the why instead of just like showing you stuff happening. But a friend
of mine had a really good point that I was hanging out with on New Year's Eve about the movie, that so much of the movie hinges on the person that's watching it understanding the before and after of Dylan, which they try to do in the movie, and they're just kind of showing you. But if you're under 35, you don't get it. You don't understand it because you don't know the backstory of it, that it was like music was like this, and then it became like this. And it wasn't just Dylan. It was the Rolling Stones. It was a lot of different art, the Beatles, all these different artists who, went from basically black and white TV to color TV in music over the course of 4 years. And the movie shows us that, but it doesn't, and it's trying to tell us that, but I don't know if it ever gets the message across for somebody like my daughter who doesn't know anything about the 60s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I think the movie is not really pitched at her. I think there's like a little bit of a kind of a bait and switch here because Chalamet is the star. So of course, like in theory, it's a movie that should appeal to young people. But it's a movie for boomers and for older people. It's people like I was texting with Juliet yesterday, and she said that her parents like were profoundly affected by the movie, and because they grew up, admiring Bob and listening to folk music, and that being a meaningful part of their lives. And I mean, how could it not be? If my mom would have loved this movie. She would have just felt so close to it, and she would have loved the idea of like a young movie star getting Bob Dylan the way that Chalamet clearly does. Like, if you listen to his press interviews, he knows everything about Dylan. He's read every book. He knows every bootleg recording. Like, he is encyclopedic about it, which is pretty cool. But you can't expect a 19-year-old to have that same level of information. Hopefully what it will do is it will put people on a path to finding out about some of this stuff and the way the culture shifted over that time that you're describing.
Yeah, I felt differently. Like, I kind of felt like I knew everything in the movie. So I was learning basically nothing. So I was just concentrating on the actors. Right. There are no surprises at all if you knew. I don't know. I mean, you're a bigger Dylan fan than I am. Was there one like, we were like, oh my God, I didn't realize there was nothing like that.
No, and I said this before the movie even came out that, for me personally, that's just not the most interesting period of time in Dylan's life. It's also a period of time that is extremely chronicled. Like, there are multiple documentaries about this period of his life. There is lots of contemporaneous footage of him talking during that period. But once you get into like 66 through 1980, there's not nearly as much. I mean, he's doing way less press. He disappears for like years at a time. He shifts his musical style so dramatically. So that stuff, all that is like, that's discoverable territory where you could interpret what was happening. What we see in 62 through 65, that's legendary American music history.
Yeah.
So I felt the same way. I just didn't feel like I was seeing anything new, but maybe that's not the movie's job. Maybe the movie's job is just to represent that period in time, and they did the best they could.
It was missing that one, like Walk the Line always had Johnny Cash, volatile guy. His relationship with his wife. It had like this hook that I was like, I kind of want to know more about this. I always wondered what this was, and it dove into it. And this didn't really have the Joan Baez relationship. I didn't feel like just wasn't as riveting.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing like the dramatic tension, like Walk
Right,
the
yeah,
Line
pretty
has
much.
dramatic tension. There's no dramatic tension in the Bob Dylan movie. It's like he came along, he blew people's minds. He was the first meaningful folk artist who was performing all original songs. People are literally in the audience staring with their mouth open at a 23-year-old kid explaining God and the universe and the way we relate to each other. And they were breathless, taken away, falling in love with him. Everyone all fell in love with him at the same time. And then he betrayed them by leaving their movement. That's the whole movie. So there is no dramatic tension in that story. It doesn't mean it's not fun to watch. It is fun to watch.
2 movies that outkicked their coverage for me.
Okay.
We haven't talked about this. I really liked Heretic. I thought it was one of the best horror movies in a while. And the only reason I just was late seeing it. My daughter had seen it in the theater and she's like, "You've got to see this movie." I knew nothing about it. I intentionally read nothing. And I thought it was one of the best horror movies of the last 10 years. And I don't even know if you'd call it a horror movie, whatever genre that is. I thought it was really cool, really well written. I liked the actors. Thought Hugh Grant was great. It made me think about shit. I just thought it was really good. Like wouldn't be shocking if that was one of the 10 best films, right?
I think it's on the outside, but maybe not as far on the outside as I would have thought 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Hugh Grant is nominated for a Golden Globe, which is happening on Sunday. In like 12 years of knowing you.
Golden Globe to me is like Rotten Tomatoes for you when I bring up rewatchables. I'm 80.
It's a little bit more respectable than it was 5 years ago. They're owned by different people. They have different voters, but you're right. It's not that big of a deal. So in 12 years, I don't know if you and I have ever had a Hugh Grant conversation. Where do you stand on Hugh Grant?
Fascinating career. We're 3+ decades now. Go back to early 90s with him. And there's been a lot of iterations from him. And now he's kind of into this old, creepy English guy version of Hugh Grant, which I'm all in for.
He's playing a lot of dirtbags and villains, which has been very fun.
Dirtbag Hugh Grant is great. So you liked Heretic too, or did I like it more than you?
Love the first 2/3. Love the like thriller man traps 2 women in his house stuff. It gets a little funky at the end for me when it kind of twists on the story. I thought some of it was interesting and some of it I didn't love as much. But I love the writing and the like. It was very like post Tarantino, like guy explains all his theories to people stuff that I always think is fun. And Hugh Grant is so game. And him making the connections between like the Hollies and Radiohead and Lana Del Rey and the board game stuff. I thought all that was so fun. So yeah, I dug it. And I really like those 2 young actresses, Sophie Thatcher, who's on Yellow Jackets, and Chloe East, who is the girlfriend in The Fabelmans. Both of whom I think like could be big stars someday.
Yeah, but that also fits into 2024 where it was like, this movie I really like, but it was missing something. I agree with you. The last 20 minutes, it's like, you landed the plane, but I kind of hit my head on the ceiling of the plane as you were landing it. But we made it.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I was really glad I watched it.
It was fun. Yeah, I like the guys who made it too. I just wasn't crazy about the ending.
And Nickel Boys, I thought, and I'd heard some people mention it, but I just thought it was so inventive how the filmmaking was just, it was just a really cool movie. It was really unusual and unique, and it really stood out to me.
Did you watch it at home?
Yeah. Which was probably a mistake. I wish I had seen it in the theater. Did you find it challenging to lock into it? Because like I saw it at a film festival and like people were walking out, because it is really unusual the way that it's done. It's done in this first person perspectival way where like you are the character essentially. It was cool through the whole film. I never really. I could see in a movie theater that it would make you almost want to throw up. So maybe it was better I saw it at home. It was disorienting at first for sure. I really, really like it. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I think the guy who made it, who played point guard at Georgetown, by the way, Ramel Ross, who's a basketball player, who's a great guy, super smart guy. But it's just there's nothing like it. There's nothing like that movie. It's really deep, has a lot to say, and it's just really, really interesting the way that they made it. So I'm stoked that you like that. Yeah, because it made me think that guy, maybe it's his next movie or 2 movies from now, will have an awesome movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. All the ingredients were there for, I want to see what this guy does next. It's funny that you say that though, because I had him on the show in December. Yeah. And he was like, I'm not really like a director. He's like, I'm a college professor. And if I want to make another movie, cool. If not, no. Like his previous movie
was a documentary that was nominated for an Oscar, but he kind of, I wouldn't say he stumbled into it, but he's not strategic in the way that like all these directors I interview, they're always like, and then my next movie is going to be like a sci-fi epic. He's not like that. You know, he's just like, whatever, if a book comes along, I think he did the movie because the Brad Pitt's production company called him and they were like, we liked your documentary. Do you have any thoughts on this novel by Colson Whitehead? And that's why he made it.
Right. So two that didn't get there for me were The Substance and Baby Girl. But I was glad I saw both.
Okay.
I've never want to watch either again. Baby Girl, I have people in my life, like my mother, who absolutely hated it. And usually it's the kind of movie she likes because my mother's weird. But really good performances at the top of it. Movies that were trying to say stuff and took swings. I don't know, you've talked about both, but I appreciated the swing. It just didn't, neither movie worked for me.
The Substance is exciting for me as a fan of crazy horror, you know, as a fan of body horror and this like explosive kind of stuff that is almost never built around female characters. There's like a female writer director. The whole movie is about the female perspective, what the expectations are of women in our society, et cetera, et cetera. So seeing that and then watching her like basically go all the way with it, make a 2-hour and 20-minute movie that's just like disgusting and explosively like primal, like there's like pus and gore and blood dripping from Demi Moore. Like it's really gross. And the fact that movie is like an Oscar contender is so wild to me. I really liked it as just like an act of here's everything. It's so maximalist.
Admirable effort.
Yeah, like you said, it's a
I don't know if it needed to
swing.
be 2 hours, 20 minutes long, and I did not enjoy watching the last 30 minutes, which I think was the point of the movie.
It's exactly
You're not
right.
supposed to enjoy the last 30 minutes.
Exactly right. It is durational. It's like sit through this and fucking watch what we do to women. That's what the end of the movie is. And what women do to themselves because of how they feel about, you know, what the expectations that they have. Baby Girl, I think, is a little less successful than The Substance. I'm so interested in your mom not being into it because it's obviously sort of an update on the erotic thriller, but
that was her take. She was like, the 80s movies did this so much better. This is trying too hard. I'm not buying it. I don't understand why Nicole Kidman wanted to do a movie like it set her off.
I would argue that it's like a little bit more of a black comedy than that it's almost like using the erotic thriller to springboard to make like a comedy of manners. And that's meant to be received a little bit more humorously. Like everything Harris Dickinson is doing to Nicole Kidman in the movie is very funny to me. You know, like the glass of milk and ordering the glass of milk. I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody who hasn't seen it. But like, there's a couple things in there that I was laughing in the theater and like not a lot of other people were. And I was like, I think they went in expecting 9.5 weeks or expecting disclosure. And
so maybe that was a marketing thing.
I think they wanted to push it as a sexy movie, and it is kind of a sexy movie, but it's very, I don't know, it's very humorous. I have interviewed the director of that movie a couple times now, and she's super funny and very like, she's an actress and she's very outgoing and charismatic and goofy. And so when you meet her, you're like, this is not supposed to be like some Adrian Lyne movie from 1989. Like that's not her energy at all. But, you know, your mom has got some of the goat taste, so I'm not going to challenge her.
Nosferatu. As I told you, I'm not a gothic Dracula vampire guy. I'm just not. I'm not the audience for that movie. Some people in my life really liked it. Some other people are like,
Nephew Kyle popped on and he was like, he loved it.
Yeah, that's been Dracula for my entire life, though, or vampires or whatever version of this. For me personally, I'm not a fan.
Break it down for me. Why do you not?
Never
like
liked
vampires?
any of them. I didn't even like the Coppola one.
But is it about something about the blood sucking, the fangs, the Eastern European thing? What is it that you're turned off to?
It just doesn't work for me. I can't defend it. I can't explain it. I've just, even since I was the last one I liked was, they used to do the creature feature or whatever, the double features, the Christopher Lee movies. They would show all the time on Channel 56 in Massachusetts.
The Hammer horror
and,
ones,
and it was always like the Dracula ones or those movies from the 50s. I don't know. I just could never get there with any of them. I always was more like for horror. I was always more of I want to be able to relate to this in some way. I can't relate to going to some weird dark mansion in the middle of nowhere and trying to figure out. I just doesn't work for me. But other people love it.
Can I give you an opening to suggest Nosferatu for you? Nosferatu is a movie about real estate. The whole movie is about...
I did notice there was a Redfin element to it.
There is 100% a Redfin element. A count summons a real estate agent to his castle because he wants to buy, a little hacienda, a little pied-à-terre in Germany. And that's the plot engine of the movie. Guy wants to come to a German town.
So selling Sunset, dark Germany?
Absolutely. Selling Sunset with syphilitic metaphors about sex and blood.
It might have been better for me in the theater being trapped to it. Like being trapped to the screen versus I saw it at home. I'm sure that was a piece of it. But I was, my wife falling asleep with a half hour to go was like minus 1,000 on FanDuel. And then that happened. And, but what's weird is my daughter didn't like it, but my daughter's boyfriend loved it and saw it in the theater twice. I just think, really? Nephew Kyle loved it. Like some people, like this is a type of genre they love.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally a 100-year-old thing. I mean, the original Nosferatu was in 1922. Yeah. And it's a story that never expires. People just love vampires. They love vampire stories. I like vampire stories. I've probably seen hundreds of vampire movies at this point in my life. This one, Robert Eggers is the director. He's made 4 movies now. All of his movies have the same kind of thing where there's like attention to period detail. The lighting and direction is so specific and focused and unique. And his level of craftsmanship is basically unmatched in genre filmmaking.
So that was the fun part to watch. Like, it's an exceptionally well done movie.
Yeah, but if you don't like those stories, you don't like those stories.
I just don't like really vampires. I've never. I don't even know if there's a vampire movie. I didn't even really like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all that stuff. I just never got it. Maybe I'm more of a werewolf guy. Is that possible?
Well, The Wolfman is coming to theaters in January, starring Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner. It's a Blumhouse movie.
The Brutalist I've not seen yet. It's 200 minutes.
You sent a very attacking text message to me over the weekend. What did you say?
What was that? I said I might not have the 200 minutes until after the playoffs. It might have to be like 2 weeks before the Oscars situation.
So
200 minutes is, I could take a train from Back Bay Station in Boston to New York, and The Brutalist wouldn't be over as I'm getting into New York.
Maybe you should watch it on the train ride on your iPad.
Just stuck on the Excella watching Brutalist.
I mean, the length.
This seems like it's a movie for you. It seems like it's a movie for the diehard movie nerds, and I get it.
What's the runtime of The Godfather, Bill?
3 hours?
It's 2 hours and 55 minutes.
Okay, so 175 minutes.
So you're tacking on...
You're going to compare the
20
minutes to The Godfather?
Well, I'm only comparing it because other people have been comparing it because it's meant to be an American epic, the same way that The Godfather is, with big gestures and breathtaking performances and beautiful craft and a movie full of ideas that is also extremely entertaining. It's not as good as The Godfather. I'm not suggesting.
Have you seen it twice?
I've seen it twice, and I'm seeing it a third time on the big screen next week. I really like this movie. I think it's not perfect. No movie is perfect, but I think that there's like the conversation around like how long it is and whether or not it's only for film nerds is like, I don't know, man. You like Apocalypse Now? You like The Godfather?
I really do.
You like great, grand, epic, visionary movies. You like There Will Be Blood? Like, it's in the same tradition.
There Will Be Blood.
So what's the problem? Like, what's the issue? You'll watch 9 hours of a horrendous Netflix show.
I'll watch 10 straight hours of NFL on Sunday and watch some of the worst quarterbacks we've had this decade.
That's right. I've watched, how many hours of Aaron Rodgers have I watched in 2024? For fuck's sake. I can sit through 3.5 hours of The Brutalist.
It seems like it's a can't misser.
Well,
there's been some like Roma, and there's been some over the last 10 years. I'm just like, I'm tapping out. I don't care.
Okay, here's what the case I'll make. I think the second half of the movie has been much more controversial than the first. The movie's bifurcated. There's an intermission, a literal intermission, 15 minutes in the middle. The first half is just, here's the sell. It's a classic story of the American rise. An immigrant comes to the country and they try to make a better life for themselves. In this case, it's someone coming after surviving the Holocaust from Hungary. And he's an architect and an artist, but he has to start at the bottom. and he has to build himself up, and he has to have opportunities come up
So he's
his way.
blogging?
So he blogs. He blogs for Hoop Site, and he does rumors, and he manifests trades.
Yeah.
And the movie is just like, the first 90 minutes of the movie is just up, 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 up. And it's incredibly exciting.
I know
and
how
then
that's
the second
gonna
half
go.
is, it's a roller coaster. Roller coasters are fucking fun.
Yeah.
The Brutalist is it pretentious art film? Yes. Is it also an incredibly fun movie with like big, bold performances? Are you a Guy Pearce guy?
For a long time, never understood why Hollywood stopped biting.
He's incredible in this movie. Very funny, ridiculous, over the top. He's
really
he's a very familiar character. I think I think if you can carve out the time,
I just got to clear out. Nobody in the house. I just got to clear out, focus, put my phone in another room.
Yeah,
and
just one room without Pistons Hornets.
Yeah.
Just you don't have to watch that game tonight. Just turn yourself over to the Brutalist, and maybe you'll learn something about yourself.
Even Heretic, I had little Sixers Kings going on the bottom left TV. Probably keep me grounded. Brutalist, no basketball on any TVs.
That honestly, that hurts my brain. The idea of running.
Just wanted
Heretic.
to see what was happening with, it wasn't like it was
was this pre
action.
or post Mike Brown firing?
No, this was last night.
Oh, last night. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were like, I want to see who took over for Mike Brown. I don't even know.
Doug, the great Doug Christie.
Oh, right.
Former Basketball Wives star. Yeah.
Right. Was Jackie there? Was she in the front row?
Probably doing little finger points at him. So who wins best film right now? I mean, the odds really aren't out yet until we get to Final 10. It seems like it's wide open.
Amanda came back to the show today.
Yeah.
And,
congrats, Amanda. Welcome back.
Yeah, she's back. And she was like, I think it's Wicked. And the Wicked thing is happening. And if that happens, like I might need to go to Hawaii for a few months. I might need to bail for a while.
4 minutes.
That's how far you made it.
Yeah. This is not for me.
I mean, that was what she said too. She was like, "It's not for me." I mean, I'm in the business.
If I had a 4-year-old daughter, like if I was you and I would have gone. I would have sat through it, but it's not. I'm out.
My daughter liked it, didn't love it. I
think there's two kinds of movie people. There's the kind like you or the movie where you have to see literally everything, right? Then there's the pick and choose diehard movie fans, and I've hit the pick and choose part of my life at this point. And it's like, I'm not gonna see everything anymore. I'm gonna, and if there's a couple people in my life who are really, really pushing a movie that I trust, or I'm like, they seem really, all right, fine. But for the most part, I don't feel, there's also way more movies out than there's ever been. And in the old days, there was always like, you kind of knew, oh, this is an awards movie. This is a big popcorn movie. This is a movie trying to get a lot of people. Now there's just a lot of movies coming out where I don't even know what the goal of the movie to make money. Like who greenlit this? It was the goal to try to make this in under 3 million. It feels like we have more of those than ever before. And it's really hard to tell which are the essential ones to watch.
It's a great question. I've thought about it too. I was just watching an interview between Conan O'Brien and Billy Crystal. And Billy Crystal was talking about his experience hosting the Academy Awards. And Conan was like, you had it easy, man. There were like 38 movies and everyone had seen all of them. And now there's like 300 releases just in America every year.
Plus all the streaming shit. Then you start adding in like the carry-ons and all those kind of movies. And it's just, I just feel like there's more choices than we've ever had before. And weirdly, the TV's gotten worse.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if TV shows are better next year. I've never watched as little TV as I watched in 2024.
Yeah.
This is the fewest, since I was 5 years old probably. But yeah, I don't know. The movie stuff is hard. It's obviously making me crazy because I feel like I have to watch everything and that's not healthy. It's like, it doesn't make sense to try to watch 300 new movies a year every year. I'm going to fucking burn out. But
and they're also getting longer. That's the other piece. So it's like when we do rewatchables and Craig's like, whoa, it's an hour 34. Like he's so excited. all these movies now feel like they have to be gigantic, but it's still, I feel like the creativity is still there. I think there's more choices than ever for what you like. I still feel like we have a nice generation of younger actors now that you came on here a couple years ago. We were really worried about the next generation. And now I feel like there's so many like under 35, under 40 actors that I really believe in now.
It's a great time. I mean, just look at Dune Part 2. You know, it's Chalamet, Florence Pugh, Zendaya, Austin Butler. Like, we're good. We got
even that Florence Pugh, Andrew Garfield movie that my wife and daughter loved. Like, I'm glad people are making those movies though. It's like, here's our audience. It's cancer and cooking, and this lady's going to die in the end. And
that was the original title.
Moms and daughters are going to watch this together. Yeah.
I like that movie because it felt like 1996. It's just a really good 1996 drama, like weepy. And yeah, I mean, look, you have to work harder than you used to have to work to know. It used to just be like, buy Entertainment Weekly. They'll tell you everything you need to see. Anything beyond that, you're a real film fan. You're a real cinephile. Now, I don't know. I mean, there's movies I haven't seen that came out this year, that came out last year. And like, in theory, I should know. I should have seen everything. It's impossible to make the time and to recommend all the right stuff. So it's challenging, but I think 2025 is going to be a good culture year. I feel pretty strong.
Well, we know the TV's going to get better, and hopefully there's some good movie stuff too.